Chapter 127 to 128. Yo, you look like shit. Minato, who was still gasping for air on all four, heard an amused feminine voice not far from him, causing his head to snap up only to see a teenage girl crouching 5 feet away from him. How the hell did I not notice her sneak up on me? He idly thought, his mind mostly blank after 3 hours of nonstop flashing and killing. He might have spent only half of his chakra in doing so, but the amount of stress his mind and body were under was quite immense, and Minato would like nothing more than to drop into the sweet embrace of unconsciousness right about now. Alas, it was not to be. Minato took one deep breath before forcefully calming his gasping for air, pulling himself first onto his knees before sluggishly standing up, almost falling down multiple times while doing so, causing him to circulate his chakra through his body, energizing it. The girl just watched him with barely veiled enjoyment, making him quite disgruntled. Only now did Minato take a proper look at her. She had black shorts, blue haori with a flowery pattern, and on her forehead was slashed Kiri symbol, showing her status as Nuke Nin. Obviously, she was not clad for war, much less fight, which made Minato slightly hesitate. "Who are you, and what do you want?" he asked, stalling for time and trying to appear fine, while still working on getting his body combat ready. Mei frowned, but as soon as the frown appeared, it again disappeared into the amused facade with a slight smile. Whatever. Forget it. You are wasted. I doubt I could get a good challenge from you as you are now," she reluctantly said, making Minato relax a bit. Despite that, he was inwardly quite amused. Fight? This girl wants to fight me? She isn't very bright, is she? He thought while keeping his polite expression up, not commenting at the field of 100 corpses that died by his hand all around them. If that was not enough deterrent for the girl in front of him, then he could only pray her stupidity won't one day be the end of her. Oh, who am I kidding? Of course morons like that die first. Minato inwardly snickered. Well, since I obviously won't get the fight I wanted, I guess taking a few kunais with your seal for research purposes will have to do. The girl boredly stated and stood up, about to leave. Wait, taking my seal? Oh no, girly, you don't dash. Minato was about to protest when Mei suddenly raised her arm, and her forearm blocked a surprise kick from one of the Konoha Jonin who came to help him, after 3 hours of gawking. Great, Minato mentally snorted. Mei raised her eyebrow as the Konoha Jonin tried to push her arm back with his strength, only to fail horribly at it. She didn't even budge. Heh, looks like I will get the fight I wanted after all, she happily said, causing Minato to groan. Kunais and shurikens suddenly flew at Mei from behind Minato, as the Konoha ninjas finally decided to intervene. Minato saw the projectiles hit the girl and inwardly shook his head. She was not his enemy, more like a stupid annoyance, but still, he didn't like meaningless killing. Contrary to his expectations, the second the sharp projectiles came into contact with Mei, they ricocheted from her as if they hit steel, while Mei still stood in her previous spot, now scowling at the approaching Konoha ninjas without even scratch on her body. Oh. Minato thought as he contemplated when and what jutsu did she use. He certainly didn't see her use anything, and that was bad. Incredibly bad at that. He prepared for yet another exhausting fight. Sensing all the seal beacons on his kunais strewn all around, Mei tilted her head, letting a kunai with an exploding tag sail harmlessly an inch from her cheek, passing her and later exploding far away behind her as she stared with impassive eyes at the Konoha idiots. For 3 hours, they just waited until the yellow flashlight finished IWA troops, not even pondering about helping him, and now, when there is only one probable foe, they charge at her with 500 of them, throwing weapons without even ascertaining if she is an enemy or not. Somebody needs to be properly taken down a peg, I guess. Mei's eyes shone with determination. The first to run her was a screaming 20-years-old man who was waving his hand holding a kunai at her. Mei kicked him into the stomach, making him fly back from where he came running from, still screaming. The entire field fell into a pin-drop silence at once. You didn't really think I would not retaliate, did you? Mei rolled her eyes at the men staring at her, as if she grew a new head. They quickly snapped out of their reverie and again charged at her, and the battle started anew. Minato watched as jutsu after jutsu, weapon after weapon impacted Mei's body, only to be deflected the second it came into contact with her, while inflicting no wound whatsoever. Mei danced amidst the flurry of strikes, fire, water, earth, and weapons, using only taijutsu to break bones and tear muscles with a quick succession of punches. After Conan's trademark clone training, Mei had incredible spatial awareness, and it showed. Leaning back, she evaded a sword, grasping the hand of her would-be attacker before throwing him into 3 ninjas running at her. She then sent a bigger than needed amount of chakra into her sauls, propelling herself into a jump only to land in the middle of 5 bewildered Konoha ninjas. Using her momentum from the jump, Mei quickly lowered her center of gravity by crouching down and dropping them off their feet with a sweeping kick. Minato just watched as a ninja after the ninja was downed with broken bones, and decided that enough was enough. Feeling for the closest beacon seal near Mei, he teleported in a yellow flash. May suddenly felt her instincts flare. Not as if she was threatened, but more annoyed when she tilted her head to the right and raised her eyebrow as she spotted the tip of Minato's kunai an inch from her neck. A visible strain appearing on the blonde-haired man's face as he tried to plunge the knife deeper with all his might, and his wide eyes betrayed how unbelievable he found the situation. May smirked. "Did you really think you could sneak attack me? I wanted to fight you to properly show you how easily countered your technique is. Naturally, I have a way to deal with it." She rolled her eyes, causing Minato to narrow his. A completely new battle began. Minato was flashing from kunai to kunai, while trying to cut, pierce, kick, and even plant an explosive tag on May, while May didn't even try to dodge his strikes, and instead focused on trying to punch him. She has some kind of wind barrier around herself? My attacks are completely useless, Minato mentally exclaimed, distressed as he watched the previously planted explosive tag explode and engulf May in a fiery ball for a second before only smoke remained. He would cheer if he wasn't such an experienced sensor. A few seconds later, May just walked out of the smoke, completely fine in a pristine condition. Shit, not even a smear is on her clothes. Minato gaped, thinking about how to defeat her. He was starting to feel the hits the girl scored on him, and couldn't help but inwardly praise her instincts and speed. He could almost feel the nasty purple bruises he would surely feel tomorrow. Surprisingly enough, Minato didn't really get the feeling of dread from the girl. She was not fighting to kill. She was acting as if this was a harmless spar. Who the heck is this monster? The Konoha ninja's thought cowed. May mentally nodded to herself, happy with the result. Her new jutsu was incredible. Listening to Rei's stories about Susanoo with Ringo really paid off. May slightly smiled. Even those boring science lessons were useful. She admitted with disgust as she thought about them. May just used her boil release to form a translucent smoke around her entire body, compressed to the thickness of an inch. The smoke would normally cover the entire clearing. Simply there was enough of it to stop even a powerful A-rank jutsu without letting it penetrate deep enough to even scratch May. Well, this was fun and all, but now that I know my jutsu is working, and you really can't even scratch me, May is out. And with that, white smoke burst from under May, covering the entire battlefield, but quickly dissipating. When the smoke cleared, May was gone, leaving flabbergasted and confused Konoha ninjas with their uniforms painted in unwashable bright pink color and pensive Minato with neon green hair, contrasting with his cerulean eyes that flashed with shocked understanding. Did she just call herself May? Tsunade looked between yet another new issue of Bingo Book and Rei, who busied himself with making breakfast and swiftly moved right and left in the kitchen, maintaining multiple stoves and pans while also masterfully adding chakra into the food. The Bingo Book is updating somewhat often these days, Tsunade offhandedly stated. Only her curious and sparkling amber eyes betrayed how much mirth she currently held within herself. I must say I would never think May would have so much talent. Rei just smiled at her. Instead of answering, he started putting the food onto plates, while also activating stasis seals to plates belonging to people who were still sleeping. After he was done, he also sat down. Conan just smugly nodded in reaction to that. She saw the newest entry to the Bingo Book, and it was utterly hilarious. Naturally, May was trained by me after all. That made Tsunade snort derisively and add her piece into the conversation. Really? Maybe you should have taught her a bit of restraint. I mean, not that I am complaining. These threesomes with Rei, when May starts pushing, and pushing only for him to later find us to scratch the itch. Tsunade playfully smirked at Conan, who wanted to groan. May wanted to further her relationship with Rei, and was starting to get more and more flirty by the day, but Rei was unwilling to take that step until she was 15. This resulted in some tension, which was mostly resolved in the embrace of Tsunade, or Conan, or both. Most often both, as the two competitive women made a game out of it. It was then the door slowly creaked open, instantly silencing the conversation, and into the kitchen walked a freshly awoken, still sleepy May on her wobbly feet. She was clad in light blue pajamas with cute teddy bear pictures strewn all over it, and her hand was under her shirt, most likely scratching her belly. It was quite obvious the girl was still half asleep, and worked more on instincts, which made Rei, Conan, and Tsunade chuckle in amusement at the youngest member of their merry band of Yozora. May instinctively walked towards Rei and sat on his right side, promptly leaning on his shoulder with her entire weight, and blissfully nuzzling her cheek, and sometimes even nose into his shoulder. Well, the girl is certainly getting bolder and bolder. Tsunade frowned but kept quiet. She could hardly fault the girl she saw as a surrogate sister. After all, she did rub on Rei quite a lot yesterday night, and the night before, and the night before that, and the ugh. In short, quite a lot. It was then she saw the amusing resigned look on Rei's face, and decided to give him a bit of help. "Oi, Rei's ramen," Tsunade exclaimed, making May snap at attention, straightening her back and widen her eyes, as she fervently looked all around the table, only to cutely pout when she didn't find what she wanted, and Tsunade received a heated glare, making her chuckle. "You tricked me," May grumbled and snatched a mug of coffee straight away, uncaring about the food at the moment. Her body also relaxed and again leaned on Rei, but this time it was more reserved, measured, and careful not to cause any discomfort. Tsunade just waved her hand dismissively and threw the bingo book at Conan, who caught it, and her eyebrows went up into her hairline as she started snickering to herself. You really outdid yourself. How did you persuade the bingo bookmakers to issue that? Tsunade asked, barely holding in her own snickers, while Conan wasn't faring much better. Rei tilted his head, not knowing what was so hilarious since he was busy making breakfast. He leaned more towards Mei and looked at the page of the bingo book in front of her to get a proper look only to cringe. His eyes landed at the newest entry to the bingo book, the yellow flash of Konoha Minato Namikaze. The problem, however, was that his picture was him in battered pink attire, with an openly gaping mouth in bewilderment and wide bulging shocked eyes present on his face, and to top it off, neon green spiky hair. Ooh. Rei winced. Poor guy. Bingo book photo is something that should represent the ninja. I doubt this would win Minato much respect, though. At best, he would be regarded as a poof. He briefly glanced towards the gleeful Tsunade, who had a wide, mischievous grin, and her narrowed, scheming eyes stared into space. And I bet I know who exactly won't let him live it down. Rei chuckled and shook his head as he started eating his toast. Meanwhile, in Hokage office, one very tired monkey just finished an all-nighter of paperwork and thinly smiled, in an indulgent way, at the small but new bingo book, where the biggest achievement of his successor, Minato Namikaze, was currently written. Konoha finally gained SS-ranked ninja. I was putting this off until I finished my paperwork. Now I can finally peek at the greatness of Minato, and indirectly at that of Konoha. This is exactly the thing Minato would need to endear Daimyo and the village council to help him, and stop all opposition to him attaining the position. Hiruzen almost proudly teared up, putting his pipe into his mouth, and with shaky hands opened the book. Needless to say, the second he saw the shocked-looking ninja in pink with neon green hair having Konoha headband, his pipe actually fell from his mouth as his expression froze and his heart almost gave out. The last thing Hiruzen thought before he fainted was, what is this shit? Minato Namikaze was not having a great day. When Kushina heard he was marked as SS rank by the bingo book, she was ecstatic, and never before Minato felt so much pleasure and attention as what she showered him with during the following night. They celebrated his victory, his triumph over Iwagakure, him alone ending the war even, but most importantly, his survival. It was very hard to finally convince Kushina to teach him Uzumaki seals, and Minato was aware there would be no way he could finish his Flying Thunder God second step without that. This victory, therefore, belonged to Kushina as much as it did to him, and his girlfriend showed exactly how delighted she was. So why was his day so bad? It had something to do with his girlfriend actually opening the bingo book that was delivered in the morning onto their porch and seeing his picture. Now, Minato had his Flying Thunder God technique, but even he couldn't quite dodge the frying pan that impacted his forehead and sent him flying towards the floor as 9 streams of crimson hair rose into the air behind the furious Kushina in an apron. Minato was really not sure why he was sent flying by his girlfriend, but the suggestion he is having an ongoing affair with Might Due might have helped, though. Now, if only Minato found out how exactly did the bingo book got a hold of such precise information about his meeting with the man, and even supplied a photo of the two hugging, in a manly embrace of youth, shedding tears together, while their noses might or might not be quite close. Well, Minato did need the best physical conditioning, and Due was arguably the best guy to go for it. That's some serious photographing skills to get us in such a suggestive way, Minato idly thought. Alas, now Minato had to pay for his folly of not telling his clearly enraged girlfriend, who was glowing crimson and holding 2 frying pans, and her chakra was cracking the floor, and she was glaring at him. I always found it strange how much time you spent with Due. Kushina growled. Honey, it's not like that, we only... Now, in a day where Minato was in a better state of mind, he would certainly just shut up and endured through the anger, but today was not that day. Exchanged some liquid youth? The walls and the ceiling suddenly cracked as the killing intent burst out of Kushina, whose eye was now madly twitching, and Minato just watched in horror with his mind completely blank except for one thought. Oh shit. He didn't manage to run.